So I thought, let's explore a situation where the Democrat Party explodes and suddenly you only have the Green, the Libertarian, and RFK, if you can call them left leaning. These are your left leaning parties. I thought, let's explore a situation where this happens. So we'll put it into the map, we'll get to work. Obviously, this is a situation where obviously right now RFK gets what, 6% in polls, roughly 8% maybe. Republicans would win every single one in that case, but this would be a situation where they've got more funding, got more of a presence. Maybe it's been a few years since the Democrat Party's disappeared, so you can kind of it's a very loose hypothetical, but we'll have a look at it. So these are the candidates we're going to go with. There are other candidates down here. Maybe you could include Cornel West, but really, these are the only candidates we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at the Libertarians, we're going to be looking at the Greens, we're going to be looking at the Independents. So, what I found is Chase Oliver really isn't included in all of these. The Libertarian Party really not included in many polls. So we're looking at the polls, but we can't really decipher too much out of it. We'll start in Washington. Let's just start in Washington. So we'll explain as we go. So what we can do, as we're not getting any Washington polls, which is always helpful. Uh, what we can do is look at these results and maybe not take them at face value, but also funding as well. So if obviously Trump's put a lot of funding into Pennsylvania, so they're going to have a higher vote share. But in this situation, there is no funding. It's just like an objective statement. So we will factor that in when making decisions. So with this is finally starting to load. So Washington, Kennedy 6%. Kennedy has himself at plus 19 over Trump. I mean, I don't know about that. But in April he was at 13 and Jill Stein was at 4. So but this has Trump up by 5. So really, can you put too much stock into it? No. So right, we can look at this Democrat poll. It's got you got a very liberal voter base up here. So this could maybe be one that Republicans lose. RFK doesn't perform that well there. We actually don't have any five-way races from Washington, so that's not ideal. We kind of it would be nice if we did have some Jill Stein or Chase Oliver sort of polling up there, but we can move on. I don't think they'd win there anyway. It would be RFK versus Trump, and do I think Trump's at 38%? Do I think he could get another what would he need if this is a four-way race? If he could just probably hold on to that 38%, because remember you're splitting the vote across these people. So I think Republicans will take Washington fairly comfortably. Maybe RFK, you get a little bit of unity behind him, so maybe you could call it a likely, but like within 10 points. But still, I think it would go the way of Trump. So we'll move on to Oregon. We could kind of blast through these because they're fairly similar. Oregon, I think this is one where Kennedy does better, as once again 538 decides to uh, stop working, which is always great. Uh, but we could fill in some others. So Alabama would stay, Mississippi would stay, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia. All of these are given Republican states either way. So if you're splitting the vote, there's no way you win them. Utah, Alaska, Hawaii could be an opportunity for green as we try and see if 538 is going to work. Uh, there we go. Okay, we got Maine. Let's do Maine then. Okay. Uh, so you do tend to get, some further left people up in this part of the country, and so they were maybe willing to vote more for Jill Stein. You've got the first district, which is always a own for the Democrats. You've got the second district, which is always an own for Trump. So if you say Okay, you win main at large now. Probably Jill Stein's probably second in the race, but again, you're really splitting that vote, and so I think it would be more than 10 points. And then you've got the second district, first district, sorry, and you got Biden. Okay, so you'd probably say maybe for argument's sake, we just give it to Green, just to get them on the map somewhere. Uh, yeah, I think you give it to Green. We can fill in South Carolina, Indiana as well. So we'll give it to Green. We'll give it to Green. Maybe it's not so realistic, but we want to see them get on the board at least. Oregon. So we've got in the four-way race, Sony. Uh, Kennedy at 7, and before he was at 19, according to the Bullfinch group. That's that's quite generous. Okay, so maybe RFK would have a better chance in Oregon. RFK's colors are weird. They get darker as you click it, so it kind of looks unusual. But this would be a real toss up, I think, because you've got a lot of liberal people up there. I mean, it's moving right anyway. So I think you'd just say a lot of maybe people in the cities would just in the metropolitan areas, the urban areas, they'd go towards Trump, and I think you'd probably be looking at 8, 9% in this hypothetical. That is California. Okay, so also we can look at the home states because people would probably want to win their home state. So Kennedy would be California, Stein would be Massachusetts, and Chase Oliver would be Georgia. Uh, okay, all right, we'll keep that in mind. So California's up next. A lot of liberals. Kennedy at 5% already, 7, 5. Again, if RFK is gonna win any, I think RFK is gonna win this one. Probably by a likely margin, to be honest. I think he'd really, really energize those liberal voters. So a big win for RFK. I mean, that probably will put him over the edge as second place in this result. Will the Republicans get to 400 or 450? Uh, we'll have to see. So Nevada up next. Okay, so because Trump's already up there, you'd think, okay, he's going to win. But he's been in, obviously, we got the campaign funding aspect to it. Maybe you get, a bit of a bleed from California into Nevada, even though you're looking at Las Vegas as the difference maker. So, really, again, it's another probably likely. And then by the time you split the vote, if it was just Republican against RFK, maybe it would be likely. But then by the time you split this liberal vote over the Libertarians, the Greens, and RFK, I think it's likely, to be honest, at that point. So another win for the Republicans, and they are storming to 270. We got Arizona next, which is saying Arizona's saying Kennedy at 3%, 4%. Uh, Harris has really got the people going in Arizona at the moment. Just as a side note, I think this is a Republican win, probably maybe a likely. Once again, RFK probably the second place candidate there, but I don't think you're. I really don't think he'd win California by this much as well. That's a lean margin, by the way. But I think he'd win Arizona by 8 to 9 points, 7, 8, 9. Hawaii. Okay, so this is our chance to get a Jill Stein state win. Uh, well, she's at 0%, so that's a real kick in the teeth. You really think the Green Party would do slightly better there? Kennedy's, performing well, but Bullfinch clearly have been giving him favourable results. He thinks he's up on everyone from April, so sure. I mean, what are Republicans at? 38, 34? Ah, okay. So still think I think Green are your big left wing party, and Libertarian are just kind of there. Should we just get rid of Libertarian? I think maybe we could keep them on there. Okay, we'll keep Libertarian on there, but they're not going to win any state, and they're just taking points away. But Hawaii, okay. I'm also going to give this district in Nebraska to Republicans because they tend to be close there anyway. So, Hawaii, Green, Republican, RFK. Hmm. Once again, in a real situation, Republicans wipe the board. But if we were giving campaign funding, you know, I don't know if RFK would be so popular there because he's just a little bit more centrist. So, or is a little bit too right leaning for a Democrat. So place him in the center. Maybe a Green win. Maybe if I'm thinking this hard about it, you're probably splitting RFK and Green again, and Republicans then take it. At a 38 to 25 to 25 sort of split. But in this situation, I think we'll go Green. I think we'll go Green on a. Oh, that's not Green. On a lean margin. That's another lean for the Greens, and they're at 5 points. So really, Libertarians they're gonna have to come up with a win somewhere because right now it's really not going their way. Colorado, okay. So it seems like quite a polarized state. Kennedy performs quite well there. Uh, 10, you look at 10 points, 6 points, and you think, okay, maybe it's close, and Republicans therefore just win. But a lot of polarized voters there, I think. A lot of people moving from California at a higher rate every time. And so it goes more liberal. And then you look at the Green Party. Is Green really a concern there? Probably not. So then you're looking at RFK, who's, but if we're going off this poll, is doing quite well. He seems to think he's doing really well. But we can only take this with not even a pinch of salt. So, would RFK be able to sneak a Colorado win? Because Green is really, you might as well not put a ticket in at that point. And Libertarians are, I mean, they're a fourth party. I don't think they're getting considered, to be honest. So RFK, RFK. I think we remove Libertarians. I think we remove them because they're not going to win anything, and they're just causing more problems. So I think RFK could take this, by six or some, maybe not six, like 3 or so points, maybe. And that's essentially a home state, given how many Californians are moving over there. New Mexico next, which this will be an interesting one, actually. Kennedy at 8%, Kennedy at 8%. Okay, there's no Cornel West in these polls, so these are literally our five candidates if we didn't just eliminate the Libertarians. So Trump at 37%. Would he be able to get over the line? He was at +1 against Biden. That's a Republican poll though. So he was at +7, +7. You're in the 40s here as the right wing party. Plus, people not believing in RFK and Green because they've never been in office. So yeah, you're looking at a Republican win probably by 8, 9, 10 points. Texas up next. I mean, there's only really one way this goes, I think. It's Kennedy's at 5, Kennedy's at 5, Kennedy's at 7. He's really not, energizing people too much. Biden wasn't energizing people too much. So really, well, this is essentially Kennedy versus Biden in this situation. This isn't really indicative of Kennedy himself. So, but you look at Trump, he's at 49%, 49, 52. I don't think there's any chance they're flipping that, and I think it would be by 9, 10 points once you split that margin. So Florida, let's head over to Florida. I get the feeling this is going to be quite a comfortable victory for DJT. And he's at +6 in these polls, and he's at +8, and I really think he'd therefore win it by about, 12 to 15. Uh, Although maybe RFK could do a little bit better down there. Okay, Georgia. So this would be Chase Oliver's only chance, really, at any state. But again, I really don't think he's on the gay wing of the Democrat Party, whereas you need someone to energize the black wing in Georgia, and he got about 2% in the Georgia Senate race. I think he was running for. So Georgia, it is 46. Trump's at 46, 48, 46, 49. Keep in mind, Harris is, fairly. She's well, actually she's not doing as well here as other states, but she's getting the black vote going, which you're not going to have on your side. Maybe they'll just not turn up, but a small percentage will go to Trump, so maybe 47% you're looking at, and so I think he wins the state pretty comfortably. Uh, then you have maybe you could put it as a likely, but it really doesn't matter. Iowa, it's just another one that's just going to stay. North Carolina, you could put a safe, and now maybe we get into some more interesting ones. Ohio, another safe one. So, Minnesota, a couple of further left people up here, so maybe Green Party could get going. You're looking at Kennedy at 3%, Kennedy at 6%, Kennedy at 7%, Kennedy at 6. Hmm. So he's really not all that popular himself down there. That's all this has given us, is that he's not that popular himself, not really relative to the Republicans. So because he's really taken Democrat votes. So let's say Trump's at 41, 40, 41. Maybe his approval ratings in Minnesota would be lower. So but by the time you split RFK and Green, this is the problem with this. Is Trump's 40%. RFK then is, let's say, 35. Green is then whatever's left, 25. Would Green really get that much for turnout there? Let's say Green was 10, then Trump's 40, then you need 40. Or you could sneak a lean, but that would really be something. Also, we're past 270 now. I think it would be a close one, a really close one, but I think it would go red. Wisconsin. Wisconsin, Trump's at 41, 41, 41. And Kennedy 763. Okay. Again, I think by the time you split it all, it's a lean towards Republican. Illinois, this could be an interesting one. Maybe RFK would get a little bit of movement down here. As we have another break to 538. So 538 really needing to fix their website, and it's completely gone. Okay, we'll go off our own intuitions while we wait for that to fix. RFK wins DC. This is what we like to see for RFK, because it's 90% liberal every time, and they have their allegiances to Democrats, sure, but as we try and get 538 back, it's gone. So we'll plow on, no problem. We can take RCP. So RCP, Pennsylvania. What we saying? Trump at 46. Pennsylvania down here. Kennedy at 4. And this is with a lot of funding going in here from Democrats and Republicans. So we got Trump at 46. We've got any more Pennsylvania polls as of late? No. So you're looking at, would we give it to Trump? I think he'd still win it. I think he'd still win it by, a likely margin, maybe an 8-9. And then we got Virginia which is already going right. I think you take a likely margin there. A lot of RFK support down there, maybe. New York. Ooh, we'll skip that one. Green could win Vermont, I think. RFK doing okay there. But I think, again, Green would get absolutely bombed if this was a real scenario, but it's not. So we'll give Green Vermont, New Hampshire. Maybe they'd run it a little bit closer, but I think, again, you're splitting the vote. It's a Republican win. Massachusetts. So this is Jill Stein's home state. 538. Please come back. Yes, Illinois. Okay, we'll come back to Massachusetts. So we don't have a five-way race down here, which is a nightmare. Trump at 34, 35, 37. A lot of real Trump, hatred down here, up here rather. Kennedy has a chance. I think the Green Party's not too much of a real problem over here. So I think RFK really has a chance. I think RFK wins. I think we give it to RFK on a lean margin. I think Trump really, or maybe you could give it as a likely. I mean, this, if he's going to get a likely, it would be this one. I'd give it as a lean. We'll give it as a lean. So, Michigan. Okay. All right. What are they saying? What are they giving Kennedy? 4, 5. Stein on the board with 1%. Love to see that. Love to see that for Jill Stein. And Chase Oliver with 2. Wow. Brilliant for him. Shame he's off our list. Michigan. You look at Trump, 48, 46, 43. So you're again, you're splitting this, and it seems like Stein and Kennedy, they've got they're fairly popular down there. So you're splitting it between the two of them, and so it's a Republican win. It's a Republican win by probably 10 over the pair of them. Okay, this is the real interesting bit. The New England area, because now you're looking at these areas that are so liberal and always are voting Democrat. So, Rhode Island. Are we ever going to get a poll out of Rhode Island? Realistically. Yes, we are. Wow. Kennedy at 12. Kennedy at 6. Okay. Well, Kennedy's got some support down here if we're going to go off this poll, this one poll, but, he seems to think he's popular as well. But once again, it's the Kennedy polls. It's, whatever. Okay. Kennedy. This part of the country. Really, this is his chance to get to 100. Oh. Ooh. Okay. Would we give him Rhode Island? I think we do. We've given Stein Vermont and Maine and Hawaii, the whole state. I think that's if we're going to be that generous to her, we got to be generous and give Rhode Island to Kennedy on a likely, probably like a 5 or 6. Connecticut. Okay. Connecticut. We don't have Kennedy. We don't have Kennedy down here. 38, 39, 36. So you've got 60% left to split between you. Given, the turnout is perfect. Green, are they really really winning up in Connecticut? Maybe 10%. But then you're leaving Kennedy with what, 40? Maybe Kennedy on a lean. Kennedy, he's closing in. He's closing in on 100, and Republicans are going to get denied 400 at this rate. They need to win, New York and New Jersey, and then they'll get there. But okay, we'll go to, where should we go next? Let's do these smaller ones first. So Massachusetts. Are we going to have any Stein support? 1%, and she's not even on these polls. She's got 2%. Kennedy, again, popular. Trump at 29, 27, 32. Oh, this is a Kennedy win. This is a Kennedy win. His poll actually gives Trump the best numbers. This is a Kennedy win. And that puts him over the top. And I think this is like a... Ooh, I don't want to say safe. But this is a likely. This is good from RFK. Over 100. Love that. Okay, Delaware. This is one that maybe could go to Republicans. These are the only polls we have. And, well, it seems to be shifting to the right. Uh, 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 give it to Trump on a Kennedy would do okay here. Maybe on a likely. We'll give on a likely. Maryland up next. What are we saying? 6%, but Trump, look at these 30, 32, 34. Okay. So we say you're splitting what, 65%? At the worst, 65% between the two of you. Stein is really not all that uh endorsed down here. Maybe she'd get 12%, and then you're looking at what have we got left? Oh yeah, Kennedy win by a likely. Oh, he's really motoring now. Okay. And we got two states left. Are Republicans going to get to 400? In a realistic scenario, they'd get all 538. But we have two states left, and it's the news. It's New Jersey, which they'll need to win. They'll need to win both to get to 400. It is really Kennedy is in there. He's in the mix. He seems to think he beat Trump in a straight fight. Hmm. 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 Maybe. Maybe he would. But uh, mm, let's say New Jersey, which is already allegedly going towards Trump. Again, Stein is really not all that consequential at this point. Let's look at New York as well. Okay, so I think Trump wins New York then by a fairly safe margin. And then you're looking at New Jersey. Okay, New Jersey. This is a real tough one. This would be our tilt. This would be the tilt. I think I go Republican, to be honest. I think, yeah, yeah. If Kennedy's saying it's that close, I think it's a little bit more than that. And Stein's in there, taking the what, 5%. So I think they get there. And well, this would be a map. I mean, in a realistic scenario, it's all red, but maybe even DC. Maybe DC is even red. But no, maybe they pick off a state or two. Maybe. But this is the fantasy scenario where they've got a little bit more money to play with. They're a little bit more established, and liberals kind of have to go this way. But not bad for RFK. Not bad. 118. Green Party getting 8 under Jill Stein. That's not bad. That's fine. Considering you're popular in areas that are worth like 3 and 4 electoral votes. But overall, no, it's a Republican domination. There's no two ways about it. So, I mean, what more is there to say? If it was realistic, California's probably on a lean. This is safe. This is safe. 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 Colorado's probably, safe. Uh, what are we saying up here? Wisconsin's safe. Minnesota's safe. Uh, Vermont would probably be likely. Maine safe. New Hampshire safe. Actually, Maine's probably a lean or a likely. New York would probably be. Nah, I'm gonna give it a lean. Pennsylvania would be safe. Georgia would be safe. Hawaii would probably be a lean. Maybe, yeah. Virginia would be safe. Connecticut, Maryland would probably be a lean. Connecticut would be a lean. DC, that would be the one. That would be the one. This would be a like complete. This would be a tilt or a lean. Massachusetts, lean. Rhode Island, lean. New Jersey, safe. And then DC, maybe give it to RFK. I think they'd actually win that. And that would be a lot. A Republican domination.